I was at the same school as Martin for 1 year, a brief period of time, when I was 11 and he was 12. And of course, at that age, you're miles apart. But we were in the same school, same time. And then again, at the Royal College of Art in 1972, he was second year when I was first year, so we had another year where our paths crossed. So yeah, that's it. And then again at Ford. Well, let me put the record straight in a way. Kinetic design was chosen for the cars where I think it's extremely appropriate. The smaller cars that started off life in Europe, the Fiesta, the Focus. It was only right that the Taurus was anything but kinetic. It had a mouth down below, which was the signature, of course. But the Taurus is much more square, much more American. I mean, we designed that as an American car. And even when there was let's say, a more European design done for the Explorer, we showed just how staying with an American influence design would be the best thing for that car. So we did kinetic designs for the cars that became the global cars, the smaller cars. But when it came to American cars, built in America for American customers, we felt that that was a more appropriate approach, that they weren't going to be sold outside of America, so why not design them purely for Americans? And the strength of that, I think, is now shown that the next Mondeo, for example, is designed in America, and there's a sort of sharing of the roles. But I think if we'd gone kinetic on the Ford Explorer, it would be a bit of a fish out of water on the roads of the United States. To those that are global, yes, and Cougar, Escape, I think that'll be the acid test of the European design in America, where as you get slightly larger, do Americans, and especially into the SUV market, where is tradition stronger than the new approach? I hope it works very well indeed. I think it's a great design. If the concept that they showed is anything pointing towards it. But you've got 240,000 Ford Escape buyers and 60,000 Cougar buyers today. It's an interesting gamble. What, take a Volvo design into Ford?
Change the badges and so on. Was it ever considered?
No, never.
Why? What is it? It's a good product.
I think the Volvo influence on American Fords is strong in different ways. The Ford Taurus, the Lincoln MKS, the Lincoln MKT, the Ford Flex, and the Ford Explorer, all those 5 vehicles are based on the first Volvo S80, the platform. Mm-hmm. Much altered, but that was the starting point of all of those cars, the P2 platform. So, although there's no design cues visible, the influence is very much there, that the Volvo is underneath all these cars. And I think that's where it was clever, the clever use of cross-fertilization from the brands. I mean, the visible part, the visual part of the car is not the majority. You can save money by the majority, which is under the skin, being the same, but then clothing it with an identifiable visual design for the brand. And I think Volvo had such a strong identity, it would have been too obvious if you did a Volvo with the shoulders, as you'd mentioned, the V of the hood, the upright grille, all of those things. If that had sported a Ford badge or a Jaguar badge, people would just not believe it.
Design mafia.
Well, I suppose in those days there were very few of us. The Royal College of Art had been going just for 3 or 4 years, if that, and that was one of the few places in the world. Art Centre was another one. So car design was still relatively in its infancy, so we all knew each other, and it's expanded beyond all reason nowadays, to the point where there are too many graduates, I think, for the number of jobs available. I think that's unfair to promise people after 4, 5, 6 years that you're going to be a famous car designer, and there's not the jobs out there. However, it was a period when it was still in its infancy, learning to design cars at a university. So as we all went to the same couple of them, then it's inevitable that we know each other and have carried on through our careers in close contact. Yeah. Well, yes, I was. He was already there in Jaguar, and I became head of PAG design. It was a bit of a figurehead, let's say. I kept my Volvo responsibility and brought in the rest. It was a bit of a reward, I suppose, and which schoolboy would never have dreamt of being the head of design for Jaguar, Land Rover, Aston Martin, and Volvo. Wow! But I didn't have to do much. I mean, Ian was there. Jeff was at Land Rover. They knew what they were doing. I helped to change the methods, because I'm quite passionate about process as well, the way we design cars. But Ian and I worked together many times, off and on. First at Ford, then when I was in an independent design company and he was representing the client, so we worked together there on a project. No, I was at a company called MGA and he was at Ford, and we designed the Ford Escort RS, and he was the chief designer from Ford. I was running MGA design, and we came together there. Then we got together on the C70, the Volvo C70, the first one. We designed that at TWR, so he was the design boss of TWR, and we used them as client. We were the clients, and therefore we worked together again. And that's where he designed the DB7, the Aston Martin, which I think was the car that really made his name. Deservedly so. It's a beautiful car. Of course, it was. I think if I could create the opportunities for him to really get on with the work, if I helped in any way in that, then I'm pleased I did, because Ian's a great designer, and the DB9 was his, and then he moved to Jaguar, and people say, well, there's some similarities. It's a sports GT, it's beautiful. There's a certain way of doing beautiful cars, and the Jaguar XK benefited from Ian's hand, let's say. In fact, the Mercurys that were on the block at the decision to end it. Now, I wasn't there at the decision to end it. We were busy working on 1 or 2 vehicles which had a new look for Mercury and a very strong look, and I think would have just helped the brand. But for other reasons, it was decided, let's concentrate on Ford and Lincoln in America and Ford in Europe. So I feel no responsibility for the demise of a brand. My God, it's a strong name, and as strong in my childhood as anything else, Mercury. So it was nice to be working on it, but it was always going to be a Mercury version of a Ford, whereas Lincoln will go off and become a separate brand with their own, as it has, their own individual cars, sharing platforms maybe. Mercury was going to be very much shared, but a new front and new rear to give it just that extra value for certain customers. Okay, that didn't work at the end, but
maybe lack of time to really finish the project of
Well, the decision was taken, I suppose, before the point where the first of those cars would have been shown to the public, and that's a decision that was a business decision. So. And there's many times in your career when you design something and it just gets shelved, not because of its design, but because of the business case or the reason for continuing the project has gone away. And you think, oh dear, that's another one, won't see the light of day, but good experience. Well, as I said, there's cars you come in at the end and cars you come in halfway through and then influence. So there'll be some influences, strong influences in 2012. I think we will surprise everybody by showing that Volvo's heritage used in the right way can produce something stunningly new, which will point the way to the future. Very often there have been attempts for product designers to design cars, and the complexity of the automobile is so much that it becomes a little bit out of their depth, to be honest. Take a car designer into the world of products and boy would you get something new and different. And I think it's exciting to see what Pat comes up with, but I bet the washing machine will never be the same again when it's finished.
What about you? Do you feel yourself somewhere outside of automotive?
I've had opportunity to do other products. When I was at MGA, we designed flight simulators, other forms of transport, motorbikes, trams, trains, things like that. And it was always exciting to do something new. It's just another challenge. And as I said, bringing our skills and our knowledge from the car design world into other products often gives them an edge, which others don't do. So yeah, I'm happy to take on anything.